Hello, fellow traders. 'Tis I, the Rumpled One. I did the Tro Hl5 indicator showing you how to use the angles, but I realized I never did a video showing you how to use the lines and how to trade with them. So here we go, the Tro Hl5 indicator, how to use it for trading. Okay, what does it do? First off, it'll plot the high and the low. If we can look at the inputs, and you can see here the default inputs are show the high and show the low. And what it'll do is it will show it when for the whatever time period you want. If you specify 0, it'll show it for the chart period. Now, how do I use it? I normally set it to 1440. And that's the daily. Then over here, you see how it says chart shift there? Move this over. And a lot of times I like to use 1 hour bars. So you can see we've got it for D10, which is today. So here's today's high, here's today's low. And then we also have it for D1 1 bar ago, which is yesterday or the previous session. So you can see, and it stops there right at yesterday, the 00, beginning of the day. So how do you use it? Well, you can use it to do daily breakouts. So if price comes down here to the D1, you know it's breaking out. Not only is it breaking out, it's breaking out of the wick zone. So we can play the breakout. Now also, what do I like to do? So that's the breakout. If we add the open, we've got the daily open. Now we can do a buy zone. So here when we break out of yesterday's high or yesterday's low, we are breaking out of the wick zone. Here at the open, within 5 or 10 pips of the open, we're in the buy zone area. Now, what else can we do with this indicator for trading? If we turn on the midpoint and the pivot, we can see we can trade off of the pivot and the midpoints. So the previous day's midpoint is always a strong trade, and the pivots are a strong trade because many traders use pivots. And so if price opens below the pivot, once it gets to the pivot, look to short it. If it opens above the pivot and it comes back, look to go long. And what else can we do? Well, it's having all those lines up there sometimes can get confusing, so we can also turn on the gauge. And the gauge tells you the price of the lines and also how far price is above or below the lines. And that's why we shifted this over to give the chart some room to have the gauge. But usually I have other gauges, but sometimes you can use the gauge just by itself. So let's do that, but let's turn off the open. Let's turn off the mid and the pivot. But what we're going to do is we are now going to do 24. We're going to use the last 20, I'm sorry, we're going to use the last 24 bars, but we're going to switch this to the hour bars. And you can see it kind of looks like a mess. So why would we want to have all these lines? Well, because of you can use these for reversals. Now, like I said, that's a mess. It's really hard to read, and there's so many, the gauge just runs off the screen. So what we do is we turn off the gauge and we use only show not crisscross lines, and we set that to true. And so now you can see the lines that have price hasn't crossed. So you can see right here, between here and here, there's going to be an area to break out. So we'll look to go short here and long here. And as these lines get crisscross, the indicator won't plot them. So that's how you can use this indicator for trading. So now we also have another way of doing breakouts. And there's so much you can do with this one little indicator. It's one of my favorites. Let's turn off the highs and let's only show the opens. Okay? Now, the orange sometimes is hard to read on a white background, so let's just turn that to black. Okay. Now, the opens, if you've been following my threads or videos, you know we have the highest open, lowest open, or holo trade. So we've got it so it's still taking out the crisscross lines, the previous opens that we've already cut through. So you can see right here, this is the lowest open. So if it cuts through here, now we're going to want to go long coming back. And this is the highest open. If it cuts through here, we're going to want to go short coming back down. So you can use this to also do holo trades. Now usually the holo trades we do within the current day, but the original holo, we looked at the entire chart and we looked for the highest and the lowest open. So for example, you might want to say there's the highest open and here's the lowest open. So when price gets there, you look for reversal. But within 24 hours, you'll get the trading opportunities here. Now let me see if there's any other trades. Yes, there are. Now what we'll do is we will leave the open, but we will now show the high. We will show the low. We will show the close. So we've got open, high, low, and close, but mid and pivot are turned off. But what we're going to do is we're going to go back and use the daily time frame, but we're only going to use one bar, and we're going to use yesterday's bar. So we've got the D1 high, the D1 low. Did I not turn on the opens and the close? Show open, true, so okay. Technical difficulty here. Oh, let's see. Most people would edit that out of the video, but I want to know what's going on. Oh, I had to crisscross, so we got to set that back to false. Okay. Now, what you have here between the close and the low, this is the lower wick zone of yesterday's D1 candle. And between the open and the high, this is the upper wick zone. So now you can do wick zone trading. So right now it's in the lower wick zone, so you can once again break out to the high, break out to the low. And if it gets up in here, now you've got the upper wick zone. So you can see here with this one indicator, you can do buy zone trades, you can do breakout trades, you can do holo trades, and you can do wick zone trades. The only trade you really can't do using this indicator is the rat zone, because you have to know the 20 pips above the low and 20 pips below the high to set up the rat zone. So you really can't do the rat zone, but you could plot your own lines if you wanted to. Maybe I'll have to add a feature, maybe put some threshold lines in there, and then you could do rat zone. But I've already written a rat zone indicator, so I don't think I'm going to create any more work for myself. You guys are doing a pretty good job of that. Okay, so hopefully you get an idea of the power of Tro Hl5. I'm trying to see, was there anything that I didn't show you? We already did the angles in the other video. Oh yeah, there is one other thing. So we've got the daily. What you can do, you can come over and you can load up another instance. So let us do 60s. No, let us do weekly. Okay. And we will do 2 bars with no shift. So we'll do this week and last week's high, low. But let's also do the weekly open, because that's a very strong trade. And what we'll do is we're going to change the line style so we can tell the weekly from the daily. So you can see here, here's last week's low. And sometimes if the values are the same, they're going to get crushed. So the week 1 high and D1 high right now are the same. Here's last week's open. Here's this week's open. There's last week's high. So I usually don't put last week's close on there, but if you did, then you could also do the wick zone or the weekly wick zone as opposed to the daily wick zone. So you can load up, and if you wanted to, you can load up another instance. You can do monthly. You can load up another instance. You can do hourly. Pretty soon you could just fill the chart with horizontal lines if you wanted to. But you can see here they're the exact same. That's why this is solid for the day, and then we've got the dashes for the week. So I'm just about out of video time here. Hopefully that gives you some ideas how to use the Tro Hl5 indicator. If you have any questions, once again, until YouTube, I can figure out how to start answering comments on YouTube, you can either email your, well actually put them out on the forum. You guys know where I hang out. And put your questions out on the forum. It's better to do that than email, because at least on the forum many people can see the Q&A as opposed to just having little private Q&A. So fellow traders, I hope that helps. I hope you learned how to use the indicator. And once again, it's not what you trade, it is how you trade it. TheRumpledOne signing off.